It's the Funny Comics Fan Club.
Hello, and welcome to the Funny Comics Fan Club with me, Dr. Mark Hibbett, PhD, MSc, MA, BA Hons.
A funny word to spell, Hibbett. and me, not Dr. John Dredge.
GCSE.
Yeah, GCSE math spelling. I didn't even get mathematics.
For those who don't know, what happens in Leopard from Lime Street, see if any of this sounds familiar. A young boy called Billy Farmer, he is he's bitten by a radioactive leopard.
That's not right.
How unfortunately can you get?
You're joking.
It's bad. That's what happened.
He's not. He's bitten by a radioactive leopard.
He was bitten by a radioactive leopard.
Is
I am
that
not
right?
joking. That's what happened. Yeah.
Was Stanley aware of this?
I don't. Why? Hang on a minute. But you think that's so? I think that's such a fantastic thing. That it's like he wasn't just bitten by a leopard.
Yeah.
That would have been bad enough. It's a radioactive leopard.
Oh no, even
what are
worse.
the chances? What are the chances of that? I mean,
So, do you know much about the origin story? I mean, do you know how this occurred or anything?
I don't actually. I mean, I assume he went to a. He went
to a radioactive zoo. Why on earth would you be bitten by a radio? I mean, that is quite difficult to achieve, that, isn't it?
Maybe the radioactive fairground was closed down for the day or something.
It could have been.
Yeah.
It could have been. But I suppose there aren't that many leopards from Lime Street when you think about it.
No,
So
it's happening, really.
thank goodness for that.
But it is a massive rip-off of Spider-Man. It is complete.
But it's also a rip-off of the Incredible Hulk. I mean, look at this bit down here, right? Billy was growling. He's just been hit by a cricket ball. As always, when something happened to make him lose his temper, his leopard self began to take over. The Hulk.
Yeah.
Hulk.
He leopards out.
He gets angry and then becomes a blooming leopard.
Yeah, because that's the idea, isn't it? So he's got leopard powers, but the downside part of the downside of it is that sometimes he gets out of control and he loses his temper. And
so it's a sort of amalgamation of Spider-Man and the Hulk.
Yeah, I suppose it is really, yeah. And in this story, what happens in this story is there's a cricket match going on and Billy is trying not to be too good at cricket.
Yeah. That's sort of a good idea. I like that.
Which sometimes happens. So in Superman the movie, Clark Kent is told not to display his powers. And it's for the same reason, because his dad says to him, it would be unfair of you to use your powers in a game of high school American football. So he has to pretend not to be very good. And he's very frustrated. And in this, Billy has told himself not to be too good, because he says, if I'm too good, some other kid will miss out. And it's like...
So he's a good man. He's a good chap.
Well, that's true of everybody who's good at sport, isn't it? To be fair, if you go like,
is it?
Usain Bolt doesn't go, I'm really good at running, but if I'm too good, somebody else will miss out on the chance of being in it.
No, they don't do that at all.
Maybe Usain Bolt was bitten by a radioactive sprinter at some point.
He was no Billy Farmer.
But what I love about this strip is, it is a complete rip-off of the Marvel stuff. But
a sort of very British version of it.
Yeah.
It's cricket. It's a cricket match.
It's a cricket match, yeah.
Couldn't be any more British than that, really.
And Billy himself is incredibly poor. I don't know where they got this idea from, but he goes out and takes photographs for the local newspaper. Where did they get that idea from? Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Yeah. For him, he does that because there isn't enough money to pay for food in his house and he's hungry. And he lives with his stepdad who beats him.
Oh, gold, really?
Yeah. I've read, there's a brilliant collection of these stories and they're intensely grim. They really are grim. And Billy's always getting beaten up.
That sounds interesting. There's a website and a book called Scarred for Life, which is all about kids shows that had that sort of effect on you when you were a kid. So they may well be interested in that. I mean, I didn't realise they were all... I mean, this is quite a tame story in this issue compared to that.
Well, you say that, but there are some bullies who are manhandling Billy's friends from school. Well, they're not really his friends, but some other kids who know him. Yeah. And then the person who's bowling is throwing the cricket ball directly at him to try and hurt him as much as possible.
Directly at his head.
And directly at his head, yeah. And that's why he loses his temper and starts fighting him.
Oh, there you go. Oh, it's more dramatic than I'd realised on first viewing, yeah. But, I mean, look at the blooming logo. It's just so well drawn, Leopard from Lime Street. And we see this incredible, strange leopard-like character leaping about. It's a shame that he doesn't actually appear in this issue.
No, he's not in his costume, is he?
I would have liked to have seen that, but an interesting story nonetheless.
And it is one of the great, it's one of the great legends of British comics. And
who wrote it? He wrote it. This guy,
I don't know who wrote it. No idea. But I know that it was brought back, sort of. about 10 years after this strip came out in Zenith. I think we talked about this before, haven't we? The strip Zenith in 2000 AD, when lots of the IPC and DC Thompson characters, the DC Thompson ones were lightly disguised, but the Leopard from Lime Street was in Zenith and was painted as kind of a sort of pathetic character, done as which I liked Zenith, but I didn't like the way Van Morrison dealt with the Leopard from Lime Street.
You didn't like the way Van Morrison dealt with the Leopard from Lime Street?
Grant Morrison.
Oh, sorry.
Grant Morrison.
I don't like the way Van Morrison does with anything. But the Leopard from Lime, I don't know. I mean, it's. I would like to read more of it. If anyone's listening, please send us a collection, and then we can.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
It could be a film and be really and immediately be sued by Marvel.
Well, yeah, that would be the issue.
Marvel would probably make it. Actually, there's no reason for them to make it. They've already made Spider-Man and the Hulk, really.
I guess this is why we're not film producers.
No,
because
exactly.
a film producer, no, we're not going to make
That's
that.
right. That's just one of the things that we're not. Aha! No.
Yes.
This.
What is it?
The Super 7.
Super 7.
Nobody's ever heard of the Super 7, but I'd heard of it. I remembered this from being around my grounds. I remembered really liking this strip. I still like it. This is one of my favourite ever comic strips now, I've realised. The Super 7. And so it's essentially 7 kids, and they've all got, and each one has got one almost like superpower or something that he's really good at. They're not exactly superheroes, they're just kids, but they've got one thing they're really good at. So I'm going to tell you now what they're good at. Deadeye Dick, he's good at shooting things from catapults.
Thank goodness for that.
Thunderball, he can throw marbles around very accurately with super force. And his full name is Mickey Thunderball, just to let you know that. Mickey Thunderball. Wonder Wheels can drive. Stinker's got loads of stink bombs and he can throw them with incredible accuracy. A lot of accuracy here. Windy can blow up bubblegum to like giant size, or blow other things like and create gale winds and all this. Booter is very good at football. Whistler. Now Whistler, there's a character.
What can he do?
Have a guess. What do you think, listeners?
Can he run really quickly?
I can see where you're going with that. Come back, because Whistler can actually whistle very loudly.
Can he? Can he indeed?
Why he didn't get more fans, I couldn't tell you. I thought he'd get his own spin-off comic. Whistler, you could have the Whistler fan club. You could have badges.
We could have whistles.
That's something you could have. They're always giving them away anyway, so why not, link it up with this great undiscovered character, Whistler. And you can find out more about Whistler nowhere. So...
Well, they're like a superhero team, aren't they?
But they're ordinary kids, but they've got these almost powers, these superpowers sort of thing. Hence the Super 7.
Super 7. And it is great. I mean,
do you like it?
I think it's... one of the things I like about it is how good it looks.
Looks just fantastic. This is full colour in the centre spread. Full colour. Looks cool.
And it's drawn by Mike Lacey, who's drawn lots and lots of stuff, and Sid Snake and all this. And I think usually his style is quite simple. But I don't know, here there's a bit more detail in, and I love the way that the full colour here on this really, really cheap paper has really worked. Because the colours, it's absorbed the colour, and it just looks so nice.
It looks terrific, and the story isn't. I mean, this isn't the best episode that they've ever done. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, what it is this little kid standing by the field, and the Super 7 are there. The little kid says, "Mean old farmer Tightfist, he won't let me into his field to get a few conkers." It's funny that his surname became so appropriate, to this person as he grew up.
I imagine maybe they just live in an area like where that happens. Like, go, well, what should we call this baby? Whistler? That's fine.
I mean, yeah, we all know of his mother. So then the Super 7 say, "Aha! A job for the Super 7," and they've got a really brilliant car or vehicle they drive around in, which is a carty with a dustbin tied to the front.
We're doing well, aren't we? Yeah, carties,
dustbins.
Yeah.
Not quite sure why the dustbin's there, but we'll let that pass for the minute. But they don't. This farmer Tightfist, he doesn't want anyone trespassing, or he'd call the authorities and have them, I don't know, incarcerated.
Yeah, but this is my question to you about all this. So the whole story is about them trying to get some conkers from this farmer Tightfist tree.
The entire story.
The entire story is about that, and they use all their superpowers to try and get it in crazy, wacky ways. Why does Farmer Tightfist not want them to have... He's determined not to let them have these conkers. He brings out a combine harvester. He unleashes wild animals on them. Why? What was he going to use them for? Is he farming conkers?
He's farming bonkers. That's what I think.
He's farming bonkers, he is.
That is where the story falls down.
Okay.
And speaking with your insightful analytical brain,
Oh, yeah.
And your PhD,
Oh, goodness.
in this sort of thing,
I'll get to use it at last, yeah.
or maybe not, because you can't answer the question why.
Why?
With all that knowledge,
All that knowledge.
you can't find the answer here. If
'Cause
you know, listeners, keep it to yourself, because nobody really knows.
Nobody, but that's because then at the end of it, like, because he's clearly not harvesting them for his own use, because he jumps up and down on what he thinks are conkers, going, and he says, these conkers won't be any good to anyone now.
And he jumps on them.
But why didn't you let the kids have them then?
As I say,
He doesn't want them.
I haven't got a PhD in comics. I can't really be of any further assistance in this matter. Sounds like Remains of the Day. I'm unable to assist you in any of these matters.
I like Remains to the Day. I enjoy the work of Kashuri Shigure very much.
But look at the remains of the Conkers, because they're literally, they've been destroyed, but they turn out not to be Conkers, because they turn out to be stink bombs, which Stinker has carefully deployed in the bag, and then the farmer faints with the awful stench of it. Then here comes to save the day, it's Whistler.
How does Whistler save the day?
He whistles really loudly, and then the rest of the kids from the town come along, and they nick all the conkers. And so the Super 7 have won. They have triumphed. They have done everything they set out to do. Well done.
It's great. So I would have liked if Anthony Hopkins had turned up.
As Farmer Tightfist.
That'd be amazing. You may have helped
It could be.
Because I'm too repressed.
Yeah, exactly. But
maybe that's it. Maybe the farmer is like retentive, and he just wants to. Maybe he's been like he hasn't had security through his life, and now these are his conkers, and he wants them. These children represent the forces that would take them from him, and are the forces that do in fact take them from him.
Or maybe he's like that bloke in Silence of the Lambs and is just psychotic.
Gosh, yeah,
a psychotic farmer. That would pep things up a bit, because he does seem like quite a psychotic in his own way. I don't like him.
I don't like him either. No. I wanted to like him because I felt that, the Tightfist family had probably been through a lot, haven't they?
Being born with a name like that, what chance did he have?
What chance did they have?
But, I mean, the Super 7, you got to read it, kids. You got to read it. Yeah. I loved it. The Skateboard Squad, so that's like a story within the comic. And it's two kids. I've done some research. They're siblings.
Thank you, John.
And there's a dog as well. So there's the three of them in this skateboard squad. But the thing is, like, we don't really remember now, but the skateboard craze had just started in the UK at this point. Do you remember?
I remember very well. I had a skateboard.
We were all obsessed with skateboards in the playground around this time. And so this strip reflects that really well. And in fact, there was a previous episode of Cheeky Weekly that had some sort of pull-out feature about how to ride a skateboard. Is that what you do with them? I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, if I just, for the purpose of the tape, I'm showing John my right palm. Can you see there, that scar? That's a skateboarding injury right there, that is.
How did you do that?
Well, my dad used to we did a thing where my dad tied a rope to the back of his Ford Capri. It was 1978. And he pulled us along.
He pulled you along?
Yeah, on skateboards. And then...
Did the creator of Back to the Future see this?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I'd like to think he was passing through Market Deeping at the time. But then obviously my dad went, actually, that's probably a bad idea. I probably shouldn't be doing that. So my brother then... We did it in turns. We got my nan's old bike, and one of us would cycle, and the other would be on the skateboard being towed behind. And I flew off into some gravel and went right and landed on my hands. There we go.
Childhood accidents, I can hear them all day. I remember I fell off my bike, right, around this time. And I suddenly thought, there's something wrong here. Oh yes, I'm unable to breathe. I thought, what is going on here? I'd never experienced anything like this before. I was only 7, I suddenly thought, oh okay. And I later discovered it's called winding yourself. But that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying. So, kids, be careful on your bikes and skateboards.
I had exactly the same. I fell off a swing and winded myself. And you're going, I'm about to die. Yeah. And then you can breathe again. It's like, okay, I'm not dying.
I fell out of a tree. That wasn't fun.
Didn't do you any good, did it?
Well,
I fell in a pond.
You fell in a pond?
I fell in a pond.
What was that a result of?
Inadequate care by a pond.
It's you couldn't make it up, could you? Back to the skateboard squad.
Oh yes, the skateboard squad.
They turn up at Lord Lute's mansion, and their problem is that they've got a very long table, which they have meals at, but it takes them ages to get from one end to the other. So the skateboard squad go up and down with the salt and biscuits and various bits of food, and then in the end they crash into each other, and one of their skateboards goes flying into the chandelier, which comes down, smashes the table in bits, and then they put one bit next to the other bit and make it a lot shorter, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, sorry. It's another example of this sort of class stuff that goes on in these comics. Because here are some posh people, aren't they, crazy and weird?
Yeah. But there's nothing remotely... They're not looking down their nose at them.
They're not, no, it's all quite jolly,
It's all very friendly and cheery. So, yeah, I always like them. I mean, I remember someone lending me a skateboard. That's as far as I ever got with it, and I tried it for about a minute and fell off, and that was the end of that. Never attempted it again. So I just... vicariously read it in these strips.
So what I want to come on to is Luncheon Vulture.
Luncheon Vulture.
Yes. Now, what do we know about Luncheon Vulture, Dr. Doom?
I have to admit, I must confess, I did spend ages going, why is he called Luncheon Vulture? What's that got to anything?
What is this concept? This concept is, I think we can safely say, abstract.
Well, no, because Luncheon Vulture is a pun
on Luncheon Vulture. Yes. He's a greedy vulture. Okay, let's delve into this a bit further. He's a Luncheon Vulture. He's a greedy so and so.
Yes.
But then you've got these other mad characters. I'm not quite sure what they've got to do with it. There's these two regular characters. One's a giant fish called Fanny Haddock.
Like it.
Based on Fanny Craddock, the chef at the time, or cook at the time. And you've also got a horse in a chef's outfit called the Galloping Gourmet. There was a TV show called the Galloping Gourmet. There was a famous chef of that name at the time. But one of them's a horse, one of them's a fish, the other one's a vulture. Okay, so there are animals involved. And then the story starts off, you've got this Fanny Haddock fishwoman standing on stage somewhere, saying, our guest chef today is that well-known newsreader, Pilchard Baker.
A reference to Richard Baker, at the time.
So the Luncheon Vulture is in the audience here saying, hope he makes something tasty. The rest of the audience consists of this horse chef, someone who looks like Eric Morgan.
He does look Eric Morgan, yeah.
And then a few normal people, but there are vultures and horses within the audience, and they're all looking at a giant fish on stage.
And of course, Pilchard Baker is not a pilchard.
He's not. He's very much a
very human person.
A human man.
So, but I want to know is what happens? What happens when Fanny Haddock makes fish fingers or something? Does she have a terrifying moment of existential crisis when she realises what she's doing? When they have chicken, does the Luncheon Vulture what? How
does he react?
Luckily for this, they're making a sponge cake.
They are,
aren't they? So there are no chicken. It's got eggs in it, but luckily for everybody here, there were no chickens involved.
No,
so
no chickens or fish, so we can all breathe a sigh of relief. I hope you're reading along at home, listeners.
But then
Richard Baker, or Pilchard Baker, is known here.
Qualify his correct name. Yeah.
Here he comes, right?
There he is.
He sits behind a desk on stage at this cookery college, which is where they are apparently now. Yeah. It's complicated, isn't it? To sit behind a desk, he says, today at the cookery college, Mr. Pilchard Baker, a 50-year-old newscaster and chef, placed some sugar, eggs, butter and flour in a bowl. It is reported that after beating the contents briskly, he then placed the mixture in an oven, and the phone rings. Excuse me, by the way, he doesn't look a lot like Richard Baker.
He does.
No. We have just heard that after half an hour in a moderate oven, a beautiful sponge has resulted. Someone shoves a sponge on. What was that? Zoom. A news flash? No, it's Luncheon Vulture, and he's pinched my sponge. Luckily, I have my rod handy. I am a newscaster after all, so he gets his fishing rod out, and he catches Luncheon Vulture with it. Then there's a nutty picture here. Read along, listeners, and look at this picture. All it is a great big picture of a not very well-drawn Richard Baker, just his head.
Yes.
And a load of lines in the background. That is the picture.
I think that's all right. It's quite dramatic, I thought.
I found that slightly abstract. And then nothing much happens after that. But the whole concept is bizarre.
It's just bizarre. Well, again, going back to my earlier point, I noticed when he says, I have my rod handy, he's getting out a fishing rod right in front of Fanny Haddock. Surely this is offensive to her people. Yeah, she's having a whale of a time. She's laughing away as he casts her, reminding her surely of the murder of all her family around her.
Yeah.
And then...
Good job, Wally Whale wasn't there to see it.
Exactly, yeah.
Or any of the other peculiar animal characters that occasionally turn up on this page.
Well, there's a bee, isn't it? There's a bee at the bottom, a normal-sized bee, not a gigantic bee.
That must be Barry Bee, the well-known chef bee thing.
And then Pilchard Baker is hitting. There's quite a bit of violence in this comic, isn't there? So not only has he hooked Luncheon Vulture on a hook, he's not hooking it. Then
he's smacking him on the wall.
Smacking him against the wall.
Yeah. Needless to say, this character didn't really catch on.
Didn't catch on with us, did he? I think.
But, it needs to be seen to be believed.
Now we come to a slightly lighter part of the comic.
Yes.
My Top Story. And I really like the drawing here of someone on the top of a building with a megaphone shouting, "My Top Story." I remember that from being a kid. That's stuck in my mind. And it says, if you have a funny story to tell, keep it to yourself. And that's what they've done.
That's what they've done.
No, it says here, send it to My Top Story. Are you listening at home? 20 Cathcart Street. There's that address again. Kentish Town, London, NW5. And it says here, all cash, a £1 cash prize for every entry printed. And each week the top story wins a Practical Joker's full outfit. This funny kit, I'll be the judge of that, contains goofy teeth, black eye faker, imitation fried egg, and other great tricks.
Cool. Can you imagine that? An imitation fried egg and a
black eye faker.
Incredible.
I mean, to be fair, as a kid, I would have absolutely loved that. When my mum sent it to me last week, not so impressed. But yeah, so this is like, you've got a funny story, you're meant to send it in.
Yeah.
These are the results.
So I think the one I would like to highlight is called Glenn's Heroics.
Let's just see.
Glenn Johnson of Derby.
Let's see what Glenn has to say for himself.
And this is the Star one. This one's a Practical Joker's full outfit. So this is going to be a goodie. Shall I read it in full?
This would be a good truthful story.
I'm not going to do it in a Derby accent.
No, thank God for that.
Our family went to Cornwall for a holiday. We stayed in a hotel which had its own private swimming pool, and that gave me a great chance to play a trick.
Right.
When no one was looking, I threw a large plastic lizard into the pool.
You threw a large plastic lizard into the pool?
Indeed, yes. When people saw the lizard floating in the water, they all scrambled out. But I dived into the water and grabbed the lizard. All the other bathers were frightened as I climbed out and threw the lizard away. The older swimmers told me how brave I was and gave me 50p reward. I bought some more plastic animals with my money and played the same trick every day for a week. I made a fortune from my tricks.
I don't know about that.
I'm sceptical about this.
Did it really happen? Did it really, Glenn Johnson?
Every day you did that? Made a fortune?
You played the same trick every week and you were constantly going and getting money for this and then buying new lizards to throw in the pool, and you were just like making a fortune.
He's got a range of animals. They've gone, oh no.
He hasn't got a range of animals, all he's got is lizards.
No, he said, I brought some more plastic animals. More plastic animals.
So he might have thrown a plastic pig in the pool.
Yeah, because, there's a tiny elephant in the pool.
Oh,
Run,
yeah,
everybody.
Dan would be interested. Oh no, there's a small plastic sheep that's fallen in the pool. Quick, I'll get that out.
Glenn!
Yeah.
Come in.
Yeah.
Here's 50p.
Yeah, I'm not buying this.
My Top Lies, I think this
It's not accurate, is it, Glenn? Come on.
Glenn.
After all these years, let us know this was a fake. And you don't deserve that Practical Joker's kit.
Send back your pound as well.
I'm banging the table in fierce fury. What do you think of this Angel Face Investigates? I couldn't understand that at all.
I liked Angel Face. I mean, the first time I read it, I thought, I don't really understand this. But I quite liked it because Angel Face Investigates does follow the rules of a decent crime drama, because
What are you talking about? Now you're going to be making it into a gritty film.
It could be. It's like Columbo.
Oh, no, don't give them ideas.
Angel Face Detective for hire. One more thing, sir. Just one more thing.
So she has a mistress. So Pieface turns up and says...
Again, what a surprise.
He's always in it. Pieface says, I've lost my dog in the woods. Okay.
This is the bit I didn't get. And this is at the start of the book.
Okay, let me...
So this put me on the back foot straight away.
Let me explain what happens.
Explain, Dr. Mark.
So what happens is Pieface turns up and says, I've lost my dog. Harsher from Harsher Ha Ha with a joke shop, she turns and goes, somebody stole our bin.
Wait a minute, no, I must stop you there, Mark. I must stop you there.
Pause the DVD. Rewind.
Pieface has a mystery. He turns out, he talks to Angel Face. Pieface says, I've lost my dog in the woods. She replies, you don't have a dog. What do you mean? What's that about? Why has he gone there in the first place if he hasn't got a dog?
Let's keep reading the story,
I don't get it. What she said? I've lost my dog. You haven't got a dog.
Right.
Next.
Okay.
On we go.
Yes.
No, we
go.
do.
Because what you'll see is, so this is a comic, so you can look at this and say, well, hang on a minute. There are actually 12 panels in this story. Maybe, just maybe, we'll find out what's going on if we continue to read the story. Maybe this is to intrigue us.
Well, that's what you hope, isn't it?
I say, he doesn't have a dog. Do we think, that's the end of that piece of
I thought that would be the end of the story. That would be the end. To me, that's the end of the whole thing.
So when you're watching telly, and something, like if you watch like a detective drama, somebody gets killed,
Columbo comes up.
You think like, oh, that's sad. That person's dead. I expect that's all we're hearing of that. Or will more come up? So anyway, let's for the purpose of the tape.
I don't
looking
understand
really confused.
I don't understand that bit.
Well, let's see if it becomes clear as we go further.
This bit has got to be on the socials.
Okay.
This bit has got to be on the socials so people at home can understand my dilemma and my dichotomy at the same time.
Both your dilemma and your dichotomy,
Yeah.
As we move this dialectic between us.
Thank you.
Dialectic.
It's nothing like Columbo, is it? Pieface turns up, says, I've lost my dog in the woods. Angel Face replies, you don't have a dog.
She says.
Then the next thing, somebody else comes in. That's completely ignored.
Yeah, what's going on? Is that
the inciting incident?
So, yes, that is one of the inciting incidents. What we're having here is this is a montage of events from her life as a detective, which builds up into a case which is connected. Yeah. So Ha Ha turns up, she's lost the bins, and she says they get lost all the time.
So she's not interested in solving this case.
She's not interested in solving this case at present.
Well, she's not much good as an investigator then.
The next one comes in. It says, last night I saw a meteorite. What's that got to do? Now, me, as somebody with an inquisitive mind, I'm thinking like, what's going on here? What I'll do, I'll read on to the next panel where we find
you get even more befuddled.
Dangerous Dan has turned up and he's lost his jetpack. In the next panel, Roger turns up and he's lost his gaming PC.
At this point, then she says, okay, well, I'll investigate that one.
I'll investigate like that. So they go and investigate. And then
she's not interested in the meteorite.
She's not interested in the meteorite at that point. Yeah. And then what happens is they investigate and says, there's a paw print here. And then she thinks, hang on a minute. Somebody mentioned a dog earlier. But they go back to Pieface. Yeah. And she says, what do your dog look like? And he says, fluffy and green with 3 legs.
When she said to him, you haven't got a dog, you must have just accepted that.
Yeah.
And gone home. Why?
Well, we don't know.
I don't understand this story. There's no logic to it. There's no internal logic to it.
It's full of internal logic.
No,
it's full of internal logic.
None. There's a lot of internal logic in a lot of these stories. I think I can't see.
I think this one really works really well because we are presented with a number of seemingly unconnected facts.
Yeah.
And then Angel Face and Jenny go through them all and think, hang on a minute, this is all linked together.
Yeah.
And they realise that what had happened was Pieface's dog was an alien. The alien had stolen.
Why would you have had a dog as an alien?
It's a fun thing. It's a fun thing. So
to me, it's like there's two sorts of comedy: the stuff where it's explained properly, and therefore the sketch works, like a lot of Monty Python stuff. And there's abstract stuff where it's not explained properly, and it's just a load of random weirdness.
But it had explained it because they say at the end, Ruby's meteorite wasn't a meteorite, it was Pieface's dog crash landing because he's an alien. So that's that one explained. They go to the park, this is very simple. The alien has stolen Harsh's bins to make a spacesuit.
Yeah.
They've attached Dangerous's Dan's jetpack to it, and in order to coordinate it all, they've used Roger's gaming PC. All makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no,
all makes
I
perfect
don't-
sense.
I don't like that. It just, to me, I don't quite understand it. I don't quite get it.
I really liked it.
Well, there you go.
Let's agree to disagree.
Yeah,
That's as it's Christmas.
Exactly, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
And then we come to something called Country Cousin that you wanted to cover.
I wanted to talk about this because it's just...
This is something similar to something else we've covered as well. I mean, I think we've had this sort of character in a number of funny comics.
Yeah. So it's like he's a country bumpkin. Yeah, because there was one in...
There was one called something like Country Bumpkin, and of course you've
yeah.
got Bumpkin Billionaires.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Bumpkins all over the place.
So the idea is that the country cousin is a young lad from the countryside, and he's living with a family who live in a city. And clearly the father of his family hates the child, doesn't want to, just resents him being there all the time. And what happens is they go to the theatre. So yeah, because this is not a reprint.
It's not a reprint.
It's not a reprint, but it reads like something from the 30s. Cause
this is so old hat.
At the local theatre, and then there's like this sort of double act going on, where one bloke says, "Can you tell me the way to London, yokel?" And the yokel says,
"It might be that way, and it might be that way." Ho 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 ho! That's a really good joke.
That's not the end of the joke,
isn't it?
That's not.
Why are they laughing at it?
I know. That's what I thought. I thought, what? I don't understand.
Well, they're laughing at the setup.
Let's try it again, and I'll go from the start, and then we'll get to the actual punchline over here.
This is so confusing for an older person.
This is why I thought I'd bring it up, you see, because it's fascinating. And this is only the first couple of panels.
Yeah,
so I'm playing.
Let's do it again. So yeah,
just to paint the picture, I'm playing a toff wearing a top hat
from the city.
A city gentleman.
I'm playing a country bumpkin.
A country bumpkin.
We're both on stage. We're being observed by this family. Let's see what happens.
Here we go. Can you tell me the way to London, yokel?
I don't rightly know, sir. It might be that way, and it might be that way.
Country oaf, don't you know anything?
I knows I bain't lost, sir, like ye be.
Oh, there we
there's
go.
the punchline.
There's the punchline. It was just on the next...
They're all laughing at the setup.
Because we did it so brilliantly, John.
Look at them there. Yeah, this has to go on the socials, because otherwise, I'm sorry, you won't be able to understand this complicated.
Even without a dramatic recreation of it.
Well, we're doing our best, aren't we? But there do seem to be several levels at work here. So this joke has now been resolved.
Yes, that's the end of the. And I'd like to imagine,
Dr. Mark.
In my expert
I mean, if anyone knows about this, you.
Yeah, in my expert opinion, as a doctor of comics, and despite what the Johnny Domino podcast have said, if you listen to the Johnny Domino podcast, they accuse me of going on about being a doctor. I rarely mention my PhD. No, my doctorate.
Just because you've got a T-shirt with it on means nothing.
Just because I changed my bank card to say it. Who wouldn't?
Anyway, Dr. Mark, I know you're contractually obliged. I've got to call you that from now on.
That is in the contract and head the forth.
But yeah, so this particular joke, has that a resonance today?
What does it say about modern Britain?
Modern Britain, as we look back. But you're right.
But John, are we not all saying? I knows I bait lost, sir, like he. Isn't that really what's at the root of our culture?
I mean, 1983. I think I pretty much remember this joke word for word in Benny Hill in 1983.
Oh, it would be, wouldn't it? Yes.
And it's like, but yeah, again. It's this weird harkening back to vaudeville, to Variety.
Yeah.
Variety did not exist in 1983.
It certainly did not, no.
But when you think about it, that's the sort of thing Benny Hill used to do. He did like this sort of variety act on television.
You're right.
It was in 1983, but it was harkening back to the 30s, I suppose. Which is what they're doing in this little kid's comic.
And then they come out of the theatre and Dad's wearing a raincoat and a hat, which no Dad wore in 1983. And Mum, hooray, hooray! What do we see but a mother wearing a headscarf? As is always right.
It must be a funny comic.
It must be a funny comic. But then they go and so the dad who resents this country child being there at all,
he loathes him.
He absolutely hates him.
Yeah.
And they go to a kitchen. They go to the shop window that is selling kitchen goods. So the dad says, "I don't think country folk are half as wise as writers make out." And the child said, "Yes, they are, uncle." And the awful uncle says, "Oh yeah. Well, why did they cook on such horrible cooking ranges?" So two things. One, what's that got to do with anything?
Nothing.
And the cooking ranges he's putting out are bargains. And he's like going, he's saying like, look at these terrible, terrible cookers that we used to have in olden times. It's like, these would cost like several £1,000s to buy now.
I hope you're following along at home.
Yeah. Well, so he's basically pointing at like some incredibly expensive like kitchen ranges that people.
And saying, why didn't country people have those?
No, he's saying country people. What he's saying is country people did have those incredibly expensive old cooking ranges, not these wonderful modern 1980s gas cookers. And it's like, what?
I missed that.
You see, it was worth digging into this, wasn't it?
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
I had no idea there was so much in it.
So much in it.
As they used to say. Mainly when referring to the TV Times. But then, country cousin, he stands up for himself. He says they didn't have anything else better like that.
They were fools, if you ask me. The food must have been awful. Oh, he's horrible.
Awful? My granny's grundle cakes were very popular.
And then the mum says, Grundle cakes? They sound interesting. Have you got the recipe?
Yes, auntie. This is what you do.
There's
the father scowling. he's deeply engrossed in his newspaper. Anyway.
Well, he's pretending to be, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's pretending to be, but he's looking furious. He's looking daggers.
Anyway, so soon...
Well, this is turning into a dramatic recreation.
This is a proper dramatic reading. I don't know if we've ever done this before.
Well, here they are, everyone. Grundle cakes. Like to be the first to try one, Dad?
Oh, very well. He's not looking forward to this. He's horrible, this guy.
He's vile,
absolutely dreadful guy. Yeah. Then he takes a mouthful of grundle cake and says simply... "For grue! Awful! How did you country folk ever eat them?" "Oh, we country folk never did. We used to serve 'em to city folk who called us fools."
Ah, there you go.
Ho, ho, ho. No wonder they were popular. And there I'm afraid we must leave... Country cousin.
The evil uncle apparently breaking his neck to get his head under the sink there.
Grue. He says grue. So we got there in the end.
Oh, what do you know? We've got Popeye on the back here. Hoedown Showdown, this episode's called. Not a bad title.
It's funny it's got a title, isn't it? Not many of the strips do have titles. But
why is that then? We don't know. But, the story again, the material isn't exactly A1, is it?
But the material's odd because it involves lots of puns based on sailing terminology. So what happens at the start is that Popeye's going, do you want to say what he says? Because
I gotta look my best because I'm taking Olive to the hoedowns tonight.
It's amazing.
And then Brutus, not Bluto here, Brutus, for copyright reasons, he says, that's what he thinks. I don't know what he sounds like.
And then he pours
a load of tar over
a whole barrel of tar, and says, "Now you are a real Jack Tar."
It's not easy to get a barrel of tar now. In the 70s, again, it was everywhere. Yeah, the jelly paint
falling over. Jelly paint.
You couldn't go anywhere without falling over barrels of tar. But anyway, this story is so he's covered in tar. He tries to get it off.
But he says, "Now you are a real Jack Tar," which is an ancient term for a sailor.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the joke there, John. That's the joke you're missing.
Oh, that's the joke I'm missing.
It's one of the many jokes you're missing with this. But yes, a jolly Jack Tar is a sailor. A sailor would be called a Jack Tar. So he covers him in tar because he's a sailor.
I'm glad you explained that. Now it's really funny.
And the length of the humour only escalates.
And then he goes, he's annoyed because he's covered in tar because he's going to this dance. So he doesn't want to look all sort of terrible. So he tries to get the tar off. And then Olive's dancing with Brutus.
Not Bluto.
Not Bluto. For copyright reasons, it's Brutus. And I'm surprised they didn't call him iPop or something. They couldn't get... At least they got the rights to the name. So Brutus he's going to beat up Popeye for some reason.
Well, it's because Popeye's attracting all the women folk because they go, "Oh my, that man has a handsome tan."
So that's going to attract all the women.
Because, of course, we didn't have tans in the 1970s because there was no sunshine. Everything was black and white.
That's true. So anyway, Olive Oil gives Popeye some spinach because she doesn't like Brutus suddenly.
Despite having danced in it for most of the night.
She's gone right off him. So then Popeye eats all the spinach and smacks Brutus through the window. And that's about it.
Well, no. Again, John, you're missing another joke here. You're missing another brilliant joke. So they've gone to a hoedown.
Yeah.
So what happens is Popeye hits Brutus. He goes flying out the window. Later, after the dance, as it says,
That sure was a happy hold-down, Olive.
that is what he says. And then they go out, and it turns out that Brutus went flying through the shop of a garden tools. So Brutus,
He went what?
Brutus goes flying through the window of a garden tools shop. Which
It's
is
much harder to explain once you start thinking about it.
It does. I try not to think about
It's
it.
very difficult to understand.
And so Brutus, not Blue, so
even though you're a doctor of comics, this has almost been beyond me.
it's almost defeated me. It's almost made me have to hand it back. That professorship is a long way off now.
So can I just go over this again? He's not Brutus, not Brutus, through the window of the shop.
Well, he's knocked him through the window of the hoedown centre first of all.
The hoedown centre.
It's the hoedown centre. Yes,
Is
that's
it?
where,
Is that where you have a hoedown?
where else would you have a hoedown?
There's nothing here saying come to the hoedown centre. There's no label on
Oh,
the
let's go to the polka shed. He says, no, they're having polka in the polka shed.
So they go to the hoedown where essentially there is a showdown.
There is indeed a showdown at the hoedown. Now, if they said that in this story, this would have been a much better story altogether. But no.
Sorry, so one moment. He's knocked him through the window of the hoedown centre.
Hoedown centre, yeah.
Hoedown centre. I've never heard of a hoedown centre, but nevertheless, I'll take your word for
You've
it.
never heard of a Jack Tar either, to be
No,
fair,
no, that's true. So he's gone through the window.
of the hoedown centre.
Yeah. And then he says at the end, it looks as if Brutus had a hoedown and the rest of the tools in the window too. Half.
So now you understand the hilarity of that.
I can see where they're getting at now.
He's landed amongst some.
Yeah.
Brutus has landed amongst some hoes.
Okay.
That's what's happened there.
That's what's happened.
In a nice
Garden tools.
garden tools.
He's landed there.
He must have.
He's landed
And the tanned Popeye is drawing attention to the fact that he's not only had a hoedown.
No, he's had a showdown,
No, he's not said that.
hasn't he? No, he has had that.
He has a hoedown.
In the hoedown.
Yes, and now he's lying amongst the hoes and also the spades and some buckets and some rakes.
And some rakes. So there, I'm afraid we must leave Popeye to his
For
hoedown.
our own sakes and for our own mental health.
I think we got there in the end.
I don't know where we got to, but
No.
we did get there.
Yeah. If you'd like a detailed fact sheet on hoedown, showdown, write into us today.
At the hoedown centre.
I don't think it was a centre, but we'll be here all night discussing hoedown
I
centres.
don't know where else you think hoedowns occur.
Well, in a barn. I mean, they're not.
Oh, yeah, that's probably.
I can't imagine that there'd be. It's too English calling it a centre, isn't it? Let's go to the garden centre or shop. No, let's go to the hoedown centre.
Yeah.
That's what you'd get in Nuneaton, not in wherever Popeye lives.
No, because Popeye lives in Bedford. Everybody knows that.
If you know where Popeye lives, keep it to yourself.